Vai lai e gani kawai gai gina e gani kawai lai e gani no kawai ko oli li kawai ka olola hua ina uli o lau mahu e luna o lau mea uli o nua o kakai hoe gane olo e gane
Justice has been done. From this problem you can't run.
You must stand up and be proud. Sing this message right out loud.
Tell me where are the brothers? Tell me where my hair all a blah blah.
100 years is much too long.
Much too long.
Now's the time to right this wrong.
Sovereignty is in our hands. So come on, brothers, make a stand.
Tell me where are the brothers?
Stand up and fight.
Tell me where are the brothers? Too many brothers fill out jails, live their lives in a hopeless hell.
Must think first and do right.
We need you all to win this fight. Whoa.
Do our struggles, boys, be true? Not two rags of red or blue.
Brothers, think first and do right. United we will win this fight.
Tell me where are the brothers? Tell me where are the brothers? Where are the brothers?
Oh yeah, tell me. Great injustice has been done.
From this problem you can't run.
You must stand up and be proud and sing this message right out loud. Tell me where are the brothers? Tell me where are the brothers?
100 years is much too long.
Much too long.
Now's the time to right this wrong.
Sovereignty is in our hands.
So come on, brothers, make a stand.
Tell me where.
Too many influxes of
Where are the
insanity that come upon us that well we gotta think about how for be we just almost unprepared, so we enjoy the stricture of jail.
Too many brothers fill our jails, live their lives in hopeless hell.
You must think first and do right.
We need you all to win this fight. Whoa.
So no like that, we don't know what's going on with the brothers Ikeyala. The brothers don't stay home. Where they stay? They stay run. How come they stay run? I only Marco and Pa Ikaina, make a polo lane.
To our struggle, boys, be true. Not two rags of red or blue.
Brothers, think first and do right. United we will win this fight.
Tell me where are the brothers?
Stand up and fight.
Tell me where are the brothers? Tell me where are the brothers? Stand up and tell me where are the brothers?
ka manawa ku mai e la i pohele aga ne i na ke o au mano ka hele ana e ka ne i ke ala kapua i a kua kapua i no hina e hi no ka pule i no ka nai nai no ka ne ke aku ala e
Scene 5, take 7.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're all located. Welcome, all my relations. I'm Bernice UP Jordan. I am the citizen of the Four-Peck Sioux Nation, Public Health Program Manager, Office of Tribal Public Health at the United South and Eastern Tribes. Next slide. Audience participation tips. We are building a community. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Select everyone and let your follow-up participants know your name, tribal nation affiliation, your job title, and organization. Everyone will be muted until the audience feedback portion of the hour. During that segment, please use the raise my hand icon on Zoom, and the host will unmute you to offer your reflection. We will receive a link to the recording by the end of the week and presentation. Next slide. This activity is provided by the United South and Eastern Tribes and Cardia Services for your continuing education information. Cardia Services is approved as a provider of nursing continuing professional development by the Montana Nurses Association, and accredited approver with distinction by the American Nurses Credentialing Centers Commission on Accreditation. This activity has been planned and implemented in accordance with the accreditation requirements and policies of the California Medical Association, CMA, through the joint partnership of Cardia and USET. Cardia accredited by the CMA to provide continuing medical education for physicians. Next slide. Completing this activity, you will receive 1 contact hour will be awarded. So you will have to successfully complete this activity, this entire activity, and do the online evaluation, which will be available at the conclusion of the meeting. And you will actually have 2 weeks to complete that, to submit that online CE request. If your certificate will be sent via email. If you have any questions about the CE activity, you can contact Michelle Dougherty at mdougherty@cardiaservices.org. Next slide. Disclosures. There are no relevant financial relationships with ineligible companies for those involved with this ability to control the content of this activity. Next slide. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land and labor of the Indigenous people whose connection to this land we remember and whose presence, past, present, and future, we respect. We begin by acknowledging that we gather today on ancestral lands of Indigenous peoples who were removed unjustly. We honor them as we live and work within their lands. Next slide. So now I want to introduce our next speakers, Holly Echohawk and Misty Carter. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Holly, who will go ahead and continue on with the presentation.
Thanks, Bernice. And what a treat today. Today we're going to talk about Hawaii disaster response and impact on behavioral health. And today would be a very appropriate day to say aloha to everyone and welcome our native Hawaiian sister, Misty Carter. So the learning objectives today, of course, is to help you all hear some stories and gain some knowledge about Indigenous disaster planning, specifically the Hawaii Disaster Recovery Office. And Misty has lots of wonderful and meaningful and powerful information to share with you all. and to think about how traditional practices support disaster recovery and the emotional recovery of Native people. The next slide. So I just have a couple of things I want to mention about, that's such a powerful picture in that it took me aback for a second. Native disaster avoidance, that Indigenous people all around the world have always had disaster avoidance strategies, always. And the next slide to help make that point is this is a picture of an Aboriginal man in Australia. The Aboriginal people in Australia have, for eons, always had controlled burns for fire prevention. This is an example of a controlled burn where they intentionally light and manage fires to remove the brush to avoid major fires. The next slide is the same family. And I love this picture. I love the way that woman, that wonderful Aboriginal woman, one hand holding up her child above her head as they're moving to another part of the controlled burn. The next slide. The next slide is what we try to avoid. If people would, I've always felt like if people did what Indigenous people have always done in terms of management, disaster avoidance strategies, we would avoid things like this, which is a major California fire that destroyed so much. Next slide. And just a mention on the native fish restoration is another disaster avoidance. And the important thing that about, and this is an example of Pacific Northwest and salmon, is a statement at the bottom from the chairman of the Nez Perce tribe. And he talks about, yes, there is restoration efforts to avoid disaster, food disaster, and spiritual disaster in losing salmon. But he says that the Nez Perce people, as many water tribes in the Pacific Northwest, are bound to the salmon and the rivers, not just because of salmon and rivers, it's their life source. Next slide. And you know that Indigenous people have a lot of power as sovereign nations. Just an example of the Indigenous people sitting in the White House and negotiating disaster avoidance and restoration. And the next slide. And just one thing I just want to mention about United States disaster response, and we talked about this in a previous presentations. FEMA in the United States, FEMA is basically the mothership of disaster recovery, and they have these different principles. And I just wanted to mention that one of the things that FEMA pays attention to is not just human disaster recovery, but also animals and pets. So I just want to mention FEMA and their attention to all elements that impact families in disaster, including their pets. The next slide. So now I have the great pleasure to turn this over to our good friend, Misty Carter, and she will introduce herself and share information about the Office of Disaster Recovery in Hawaii. Misty.
Mahalo, Holly, Lee, and Bernice. This morning, Belina mai me ke aloha. Aloha mai kako. My name is Misty Carter. Welcome today to our presentation on Indigenous disaster recovery and planning. I'd like to start off this morning by recognizing and honoring my ancestors and a brief introduction on who I am and who raised me. In the photo here, on the top, starting with my husband, Clarence Carter III. Right below that is my grandfather, who lived to 101 years old. And then my great-grandparents, who migrated from Okinawa, Japan. My parents that raised me there in the center. And then my father, who is Crow, Dennis, Three Stripes of Valor, Beaumont. And then moving on to the right side of my screen are my elders and my grandparents that continue to mentor me and pray for me in my day-to-day and continue to support me. On the top, if you may or may not recognize some of these people because they are very active across the continent, Jolene White-Clay, Angie Whiteman, and Jeannie Bearcrane. And then my parents, Vivian Youngman and Philip Beaumont Jr. When I leave this earth, there's one thing that I really will be proud of, and those are my good deeds. And the feathers here represent 4 of my children. I have 2 sons and 2 daughters, and each of the feathers there replicate their personality, who they are, what they are, and overall they are my protectors and my guides whenever I look to a source of, am I doing a good job? Am I making an impact? And really it's reflective of me as a mom, and our opening song by Who Are the Brothers? And their message there was Awamo Kuleana. It's the kuleana, or the responsibility that we carry and the work that we do throughout our life. So with purpose, I have a lot of strong men in my family that have raised me and guide me, but it really were the women that, are warriors that really help to sustain us and to continue to move us forward. And also raising 2 daughters who are just resilient in everything that they do. So thank you for having me today. We like to give you a brief overview of what and where Hawaii is. What we like to consider Hawaii is in the Pico of the Pacific. So you see us there, teeny tiny islands. And the Pico is what we consider our navel, or what connects us to our mother, what connects a child to the mother. And being in the Pico, or the center, is a very spiritual place. And people wonder, why do people live in Hawaii and why do they not leave? And it's because of our connection that we have to this location in the middle of the Pacific. So I wanted to give everyone an idea. If you've been to Hawaii or if you visited Hawaii, please drop in the chat the island or the islands that you visited. We'd be happy to know, of the 8 islands, which ones you've visited. We'll take a zoom in so you see a bit closer on where we're going to be talking about today. Predominantly, I think what's on everyone's mind is Maui and the brush fires that happened there in a few different places. The most tragic is the Lahaina fire, in which people perished, and the entire town, which many people visited. And I'm sure that we'll see it there in our chat. A town that they visited for year after year and took their families there or have familial ties there. But today we're going to be talking about the Kilauea volcano eruption that happened in the area of Puna. And we'll take another zoom in so we'll capture the space in which we're going to be talking about today. So on the Big Island, you'll see the tip, or what seems to be an image of a face, the nose, which is the east side of the island. And highlighted in red is the lava flow that took place in 2018, which erupted from the Volcano National Park in Kilauea. It began at Halema'uma'u Crater. Many of you, if you visited Hawaii, visited the national park as well. And it came all the way down and opened up fissures in the area of Puna, which was highly populated in a residential area, which by far was a traumatic event for the residents that live there. I live approximately 20 miles away from this location, but from our living room every night, we would sit there and we would admire the glow, the natural glow that took place from this location that far away. So today we're going to be talking about disaster recovery and resilience. And while I work in the disaster recovery division, a lot of our Native people, including myself, don't see this as a disaster because it was natural. It came from the earth, and it was written in our chants and stories decades and decades ago. So for a lot of our Native people, the stories that were told, centuries ago continue to come alive. as they do today. But we will talk about resilience through tradition, community culture, and healing. And really, the conversation today is going to be focused on around the unique strength of the Native Hawaiian and Indigenous knowledge, systems in disaster recovery. And the framework is a direct reflection around our cultural healing practice of ho'oponopono and community-driven resilience. We have near-term and long-term goals within our division. And I came into this division about 3 years ago. And really it was to help facilitate projects and efforts that were ongoing, but really needed to be a bit more dedicated and focused on Native Hawaiian intelligence, as well as the many, many Indigenous peoples that migrated to Hawaii during the plantation era. And with that, we've really grown a huge community of diverse thinkers, innovative thinkers, and this is where we are today. So an overview for the disaster recovery work that we do. Here you'll see bullet points on different areas that we address. We have public roads and restoration. We have a voluntary housing buyout program because, as mentioned, it was a highly populated residential area. We have our Kilauea grant programs that I'll cover to give you a little more insight on how we were able to help community and community members who are boots on the ground. We still have a boat ramp that we are still looking to replace that was taken out by the eruption, which was a main source of food, which our community refers to as their icebox, because it really did feed the community there first and the elders there before any of that that was taken from the ocean and shared was shared out of the community. It really was there to feed. Of course, Hawaii is well known for our tourism. Broadband in this particular area, in a rural area, was either cut off or was never accessed. And then getting people to be moved in and out with our mass transit master plan is another area that was really successful for us. Of the 8 islands, we have 4 counties. And Hawaii County, which we reside in, offers free transportation. So highlighting our community-based approach to resilience, we emphasize our public input, our community input, and collaboration as our pillars within our decision-making processes. We connect people to nature and their surroundings. And for this, in this particular picture, we bring out people from FEMA, HUD, DOBAR, DLNR to get a first-hand look on the ground of the lava flow. And in the background, you'll see that this was a beach, but now we're looking at way over 18 stories of lava that flowed into this area and then covered it, took out the boat ramp. Once the lava cooled, and the ocean in this particular area is extremely active. We are in the middle of the Pacific at its eastern point. And as it broke down the newly formed lava, it created sandy beaches all the way down the coast. A lot of our coral reefs and our fishing there were impacted, but they continue to grow back because they as well are resilient to this space. We also have our voluntary housing buyout program that I had mentioned. With that, we've received over 800 applications for our voluntary housing buyout program. There were over 700 homes or properties that were either covered or impacted with the eruption. We're currently moving into our 3rd phase over the past 3 years, and we've expended or funded out over $67 million with an average closing cost of a little over $182,000 for people to restart in a space of their choosing. And surprisingly, a lot of people didn't move very far from where the eruption occurred. Our staff here are, a part of our community. You see them in the supermarkets. Some of them lived in the area as children and have experienced firsthand eruptions. from the time of their birth. And it wasn't their first eruption. They've been to about 3 or 4 eruptions that occurred in this location. And it's always about being ready and heeding the warning. Heed the warning when the earth begins to shake in this space. And it means that you clean your home and you get ready for Tutupele to show up. So in the image here, you'll see how close a business is to the eruption that occurred, or scattered throughout some of the landscape are homes and what we call kipuka, or areas where there's forests surrounded by lava. Some areas are spared, and some well-known homes have been spared, and they continue to go back to these places because of the personal relationship that they have. So it's extraordinary, you know, having to see something as an eruption from a distance, but to see it in your backyard, or to see it, you know, travel down the road that you would normally go to school, or you know, transport your family on. It was extremely eye-opening and something that people will never forget. And we'll pause here for a minute. And our 5th anniversary came last year, and we collected some stories that we wanted to share with you. And I know Holly got to see this. I really wanted to share this with you. So I'll take a pause for now, so that we can get a firsthand account of our community member.
You will never forget the sounds, the smell, the wondering, the views. You see destruction, but you also see beauty. So many different emotional experiences that come flooding back when you think of what had happened for that long of a period. It wasn't just, okay, today we had a lava flow, just went by. Tomorrow we're okay. It wasn't like that. At the time of the lava flow, I was in Puna, and I was assisting family whose homes were being threatened. My cousin Amy Kaavaloa at the time lived on Kupono Street, and my Hanai parents from Tahiti lived on Moku Street. During the time of the lava flow, I was helping them to evacuate. The community meetings, when people came, there were a lot of uncertainties, but after everybody sharing and the resources that were available for the community to come and talk to different peoples, and you know, because everybody had different things going on with their evacuation or their homes or the loss, or you know, and just to have everybody, each other, being able to reach out. And there was some, you know, somebody had somebody there to help them through the process. We're still hoping that life can resume to some.
Thank you for sharing that. Pi'ilani Kaavaloa, and as she mentioned, Amy Kaavaloa, Resilient Women in Puna. Pi'ilani is a kahu, or a minister who really serves her community well. Her cousin, as she mentioned, Amy, was in the previous picture with her housing voluntary program, and she lost her space, but she still came back to make sure that over 700 applicants were cared for, and made sure that they were assisted well, with Aloha always. Moving on to some of our projects here, our Revitalize Puna Placemaking Initiative was sponsored by a 225,000 USDA rural placemaking grant, in which we hope to bring life to a space that really was struggling with the impacts of the eruption, but not just the traumatic event that occurred in May of 2018, but the traumatic events that it stirred up, from everything that was, either compacted or brought up by what do I do now? Where do I go? I've lost my personal effects. And a lot of people that have moved to Hawaii did leave their homes to start anew. And when this occurred, they were lost. But we provided the support needed by bringing our community members together, one in socially, so that they could lean on each other and find a space that was healing for them. But more so, we moved on to our grant making programs. One of them being our Kilauea recovery grants that would assist in restoring roads, water, agriculture. We did lose a Hawaiian focused school in this area that was taking out minutes from the time that it took out the home of the principal, who continues to serve the community there. These Kilauea Grant Recovery awards ranged anywhere from $5,000 to $500,000. We're in our second phase of grants at the moment, and it even includes animal rescue. So one of the things that we see all too often is that when it comes to life and survival, a lot of times we have to leave our pets, our fur babies behind. And we were able to support an organization that after the people were safely moved out of this eruption area, that a lot of the livestock, pets were left behind, and the support efforts that went into rescuing them then formed a nonprofit organization. The picture here also describes our Puna Flower Power Group. A large amount of our orchids that are raised in the Puna area, because the atmosphere there is just epic when it comes to anything will grow in Puna. You'll hear this a lot, that the agriculture there thrives, the flower there thrives. And a lot of the exported orchids that you may have seen across the continent or internationally may have come from this area here. And I was reminded recently about an orchid and how it is resilient. It's delicate, yet resilient. So when the flowers may fall down, you hang it in your tree outside, and a year later, you'll notice that it'll bloom again. Our Puna Strong Grant program is a program that's really special to me because we were able to either establish or support 26 nonprofit organizations in our first phase. And these are grassroots organizations that always seem to show up in the time of need, whether it be an eruption, a flood, a landslide, a brush fire. It's always your community leaders, your community servants who show up, and they put in tirelessly amount of hours without being compensated. And through this particular program, we were able to build capacity and staff positions with the philanthropic dollars that we invested in the grant program. So in phase 1, we had 26 grantees. In phase 2, we went down to 14, and we really focused on creating a sturdy foundation for them to stand upon. We worked on their governance. We worked on their operational capacity and their skill sets. And currently in our phase 3 program, we've dedicated 10 organizations who were funded with approximately $50,000 up to $75,000 along an 18-month period, While it seems as if it's not a lot, the impact that it's made and the people that they serve in the community is huge. Per organization, we've partnered with the Hawaii Community Foundation, excuse me, and we've subcontracted Native Hawaiian organizations, A'ali'i Alliance and Kilo Collaborative, which have helped to develop this program even more. Most recently, you'll see here, 4 of our executive directors were given the opportunity to present at an all-Native Hawaiian convention, which was attended by approximately 2,000 attendees. And they were finally able to share their story. While 6 years later, it was still extremely emotional. I was so proud to watch them, speak their truth and to really share the story of resilience, but more so just to lean on each other as organizations. Sometimes we work in silos, but it's through collaboration that we really see the strength of the communities that we're able to serve, but also incorporating the feedback from them so that we are doing it right. And that's really all we want to do, is just to make sure that we're caring for the people in our communities the right way and their way. There's some other programs that we also want to acknowledge. Is we are able, through Aloha Care, led by Dr. Kealoha Fox, to prescribe Native Hawaiian practices, which include hula, ho'oponopono, aipono, which is healthy eating, and lomi lomi, which is massage therapy, to just really get into the deep of the muscles and the tissues to really work out the trauma and emotion that have been there for years and years. But thankfully, we do have an option in which we can send not just our Native Hawaiian community, but our Indigenous community there. Which is amazing, because it's really something that was housed within families. Families were known for particular practices. Families were known to prepare particular medicines or particular foods. So now that we can have it where compensation occurs and it's recognized within the medical field that these practices are necessary. One area that I've been trained in for many years now is ho'oponopono, and really just want to pay honor to Kumu Manu Lani Aluli Meyer, who I've studied under for several years now. And then her kumu and I as well have studied under Auntie Lynette Plaginuan. Also pictured here is maybe recognized for some of our relatives from our Navajo Nation, is Chief Justice Robert Yazzie, who came over to Hawaii to share time with us, but really to engage in ho'oponopono and the practices. And then they are from Life Comes From It, a great program that helps to remedy some of the reintegration from our incarcerated friends, family, relatives back into the community. But when you make the whole person well, they can then take care of their families and then continue to serve their communities. A process that we refer to as the Ho'okanaka process, a set of initiatives in which addresses what's related to reentry, recidivism, and decarceration. And it really includes reimagining reintegration, healthcare options, trauma-informed recovery, and the impact on ohana, or our families, to thrive. So again, once disasters or inclement weathers are upon us, we really have to lean into our family unit or our units of support to help to guide us through, to be there for each other. And that always helps. I like to offer this proverb, ma kahana ka'ike, in working one learns. And through forgiveness of what may bind us and what might restrict us from helping others, from getting out, from learning more, to really exercise your true gifts is forgiveness and expressing the feeling of forgiving yourself first, and building an inner strength, and coming with aloha and peace, in the balance of forgiveness. So a lot of, in a lot of our traditions and our ways, it's how do we balance, how do we find peace and forgiveness? And you know what? When things don't go so well, we go at it again and we try again, and we continue to make the best of it, especially in our indigenous communities, that there's so many struggles there, but just making sure that we lean on our pillars within our community. And then next is our ike aku, ike mai, kokua aku, kokua mai, pela iho la ka nohona ohana. In this practice, we watch, we observe, and we help others, and we accept help. And this is a family way or a family tradition. So again, we come together, right? We make food, we adorn ourselves with lei, and this particular image that you've been seeing throughout of the tea leaf or the twisted tie may be familiar. I like to also think of it in reflection as braiding sweetgrass. But when we twist or we braid our tea leaf, which some of the people in the picture here are wearing, it is a practice of healing. And we use this la'au, or medicine. We use it for leis, we use it for medicine, we use it to prepare food, we use it to reduce fevers, we use it in tea. But it really is just a resilient plant. If you cut down your entire yard, it will pop up, no doubt. So for us to continue on, lei making is another way for us to heal. And you've come to Hawaii, for many of you that dropped your locations into the chat and you've received the lei. There is a deeper meaning in it. And the way that I think about it is, it's in a circular fashion, that the love continues to flow round and round and round, and it doesn't stop. So I hope that you felt that when you came to Hawaii, that when it was given to you, and I'm hoping it was explained to you, that this is just decades and decades of practice that people put into every lei has a meaning. And what I call the ingredients of a lei, the ingredients that we put into the lei, each plant, each familial plant that we have in there all represents a different meaning. Some people, get leis that are particular to their celebration, their situation, or what we hope to either heal from or where we want to send them in the future. So it's a great way for us to come together and to celebrate, but always in practice. The success in our intercultural interactions, right? When people feel good about themselves in the groups that they belong to, they're more successful in intercultural interactions. Sometimes when we get into practice, it's uncomfortable. Am I Hawaiian enough? Am I Crow enough? Do I speak the native language? Can I at least insert vocabulary, And I think it's great that, yes, we have fluent speakers, and we continue to hear and to listen and to observe that even if we're not native speakers or fluent, we still pick up on tones and reactions and love or emotion. Really, it helps to guide us. And I have to tell a funny story that one of my elders that I shared in the beginning, she'll call me and she'll leave me a voicemail in our native language, and I don't understand it, but I just know that she's well. I know it's not an emergency, and I know that my return call needs to happen quickly. But I just love that she just, we accommodate the Western so much that we need to just be as we are and show up as we are. But these are all meaningful steps in recovery and readiness as we move forward. So here in our disaster readiness, right? Are we ready? I want to say yes. I'm confident that the people that we've helped to steward in this area of Hawaii are ready. They're well equipped. They know how to come together. They know how to collaborate. They know when to check in on each other. They know when to celebrate each other. And they know when to hold each other accountable. And I think that's a big deal. Accountability is big, but having an accountability partner to help you take a pause from time to time is really important. And the structure here on the right is a structure that they were able to construct. They're in code. It is native by far. It checks all the boxes, right? But they're able to gather here. They make food here, and they're just deep in practice in this particular location. So I really want to celebrate them for that. Wrapping things up here, thank you for your time. This is the vision that we have, our Kaya Ulu response, or our community response. It's inevitable that an eruption will happen again in Hawaii, and it will continue to happen for decades to come. But with the collaboration and collective strength of our community becoming stronger together, we have a long-term resilience plan, and there's a beauty in it. There's a beauty in nature, as fiery and feisty as it may be, wherever it shows up. If you dig deep enough, it was written in our stories, time immemorial. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate being able to share a bit today. And I hope that some of the terms or the practices were familiar, or will encourage you to come back and visit Hawaii if you've been here before. Or if you haven't been here yet, we welcome the visit. Mahalo.
Misty, that was wonderful. That was really, really powerful. And just thank you so much for honoring us by joining us today and sharing the information you shared. And from a behavioral health perspective, I think it's really interesting what you were talking about and how people recover. The emotional connection to land, the emotional connection to community. You talked about the different ways that people release trauma. And I was really impressed when we've had previous conversations and Misty and I to plan for this today. The normalization, it feels like, in Native Hawaiian culture of releasing trauma through touch, through massage, but just the awareness of how trauma will, if it stays in you, so to speak, it just blocks so much. And there seems to be a real normalization of finding ways to release trauma. And I really think that's incredible. I also like what you talked about, releasing through forgiveness, how important the power of forgiveness is. And I'm so glad you explained that one picture of the farmers in the greenhouse, that those were orchids. The green in that picture were orchids, in that Puna region is known across the world for orchid production. So when you have friends that have orchids in their home, or you see them in different places, most often I think they come from Puna. And so when the volcano eruption happened and destroyed the orchid fields, they quickly developed a way to restart orchids in the greenhouse and kind of pick that process up. But just, and your analogy of the resilience of orchids is another important lesson that you shared with us. So I can't thank you enough, Misty. It's really been our pleasure and our honor to listen to you and share about the Hawaiian Islands and the great work you do in the Office of Recovery. So the next slide, Lee.
So if you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to myself, Bernice Jordan, at bjordan@usetinc.org. I know some of you might take a picture of this. Lee Lockharty at c4innovates.com, or Holly Echohawk at eechohawk@pacifier.com. I know we have received some messages in the past, and we try to reach back out to you as quick as possible. Lee has put a QR code on this slide, so it's easier access to get your survey. So if you just click on this link, if you're able to, and it should take you directly to the survey. Now, when you go through the survey, at the end of the survey, it'll tell you where you can, it should give you all the information to get to your CEUs. Now your CEUs will come from a different location. So you may have to check another, your spam box for that. So just be on the lookout, and you have up to 2 weeks. So when we do send you the YouTube video, it should come then. Next slide. The next session in the 2024 series will be Tuesday, November 26, 2024, 11 Pacific, 12 Mountain, 1 Central, and 2 Eastern. This will be our last for the season. It's the open discussion forum, Reclaiming Native Psychological Brilliance. Do you have anything else to say about this one, Holly?
Sure. This will, we always, our sessions are January through November of each year. We don't do December because of holidays. We always save the November session for just an open session to hear from you all on what you think we should do for the 2025 series, or any feedback or advice you have. So we look forward to the having this open forum next month. And I think what we want to do now is take a few minutes to open it up to anyone. Normally, Olivia is here with us. She wasn't able to join today, and she monitors the chat. I just looked through the chat. I didn't see any particular questions, but this is a chance for any of you, if you'd like to come offline and ask a question of Misty or of myself, please feel free to do that. Or if you just want to make a comment to Misty about her presentation. Dr. Harry Brown, I saw your comment, that appreciation to Misty for sharing the information she showed, and great pictures. They were definitely wonderful. You brought us all into Hawaii, Misty, with the pictures that you showed. I feel like we've all kind of transported ourselves for this hour into Hawaii and the wonderful cultures there. So would anyone like to come offline? Unmute yourself and share any thought you have with Misty, or questions for Misty or myself. Bernice has her hand up.
Hello.
Gwen?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. I just wanted to say I really love that presentation. I'm sorry my video's having issues, but I really love that presentation. I've actually visited Hawaii once a long time ago, but it's a place that was so beautiful. That's on my bucket list to go back. But I really love the way that they are so resilient, and they built something from nothing again. The nature's always there. That's our mother. She takes care of us. And I'm so glad to know that they're taking care of her now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Ending this call, we're going to have another song that we're going to present. And many of you know how our people stood in protection of Mauna Kea, the largest mountain from seafloor to tip, which is higher than Mount Fuji across the globe. But it's a song of another step of resilience, how 36 of our elders were arrested on the mountain on a particular day in protection of this space, which is sacred. And they've really been the example. Our elders are always the example, and our babies and our children always give us hope. So I hope that, as we warm up to closing out this call, that there's always hope. And we always, for you to be here on this call today, for everyone here, I'm sure that we all just want to be beacons of hope for the communities and for the people that we serve. But looking to our mountains, looking to our waters, that really sustains us and gives us strength and cleansing time and time again. This is, ku ha'aheo e ku Hawaii, standing proud in my beloved Hawaii. was something that continues to reign in. I'm sure the opening song as well, something as important as carry on these responsibilities. I'm hoping that you were still, tapping your knee and swaying a little bit and just really engaged and, watching these men, we look to the men, but at times, women or just all people really step in and just to serve and just hearts to serve. But I hope that this song as well will carry you through.
There was one more thing that I saw too, Misty and Holly. Bertie Johnson said, I was taught not to visit, to preserve for the people whose land it truly is. I don't know if you saw that comment.
Thank you for the comment, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the respect for the spaces. Here I am. I'm sitting in Oregon today while I'm with my daughter. My home is in Hawaii, and I'll return there in a few days. But even when I go back to Kroll, I know my role there, and I know it's always. I think being respectful and knowing how to honor spaces. I think just go back to your innate, to your family values on how you enter spaces respectfully, and leave it better than you arrived. But always seek out experts in the space so that we can help guide you. Because we welcome visitors, we welcome Native people, we welcome curious people, all willing to learn. But we're in this together. I think worldwide, we're at a time where we're in this together in order for us to survive for generations to come.
Kai ko'o ka moana kai lana nei Hawaii nau e wehe a lulu ka honua a haumea na kulukulu e ka lani ki e kau mai luna au e ke aloha ole a ka malihini. Me ko kamalala walula me ka kuhi hewa. Alu mai pu alu mai me ko mano kalani po. Ka I mai ana me na kama ka hele lani. Kuha ahea. Poki a e inu vai ava he vivo ole a hoku pa a o he hope ho I mai ai ana I vale no ka kou ko e mau I ke ala au e ke aloha ole a ka malihini e lei mau ka koe na mamo aloha I lei vehi a ali I vehi nani o kuaina. Hoe a mau no ka pono sivila a hoi a mai ke kuokoa. Kuha a heo, kuha
ha'aheo e tu Hawaii Mama kakaua No ku'ulahu I e ha'awi pau ai o lama.
Oh, Holly, you're muted. We didn't hear what you said last, Holly. I just want to make sure you got your goodbyes out.
Misty, I think we're going to stay on for a few minutes. And everybody else, we'll see you next time. Holly, we can't hear you.